Tonight, millions of people will go to sleep surrounded by other humans and still feel completely alone. They'll scroll through hundreds of faces, exchange messages with strangers, watch videos created by people they've never met. Some will spend the entire evening connected to the world and yet carry a feeling that something is missing. Loneliness has become so common that many people assume it's simply part of being human. But what if it isn't? What if one of the most familiar emotions in modern life would have been almost unrecognizable to your ancestors? Because for nearly all of human history, humans lived under conditions that should have made loneliness worse. There were no phones, no social media, no entertainment, no private apartments, no instant communication, no way to contact someone living even a few miles away. And yet, anthropologists studying traditional societies repeatedly encounter something surprising. People who possess almost nothing by modern standards often report far stronger feelings of belonging than people surrounded by modern conveniences. So what did ancient humans understand that we've forgotten? The answer begins with a simple fact about your brain. Your brain was never designed to live alone. For roughly 300,000 years, humans survived because they stayed together. A lone human was vulnerable. A group was powerful. If you were living on the African savanna 100,000 years ago, isolation wasn't uncomfortable. It was dangerous. You couldn't hunt large animals alone. You couldn't defend yourself against predators alone. You couldn't raise children alone. You couldn't gather enough information about the landscape alone. The individuals who stayed connected survived. The individuals who drifted away often didn't. Over thousands of generations, natural selection began shaping the human brain around one central requirement: belonging. Researchers have found that social pain activates many of the same neural pathways as physical pain. In other words, your brain treats rejection as a genuine threat. That isn't a flaw. It's ancient survival software. The feeling of loneliness evolved for the same reason hunger evolved. Hunger tells you to find food. Thirst tells you to find water. Loneliness tells you to find people. But ancient humans experienced something very different from what most modern people experience today. They were almost never physically alone. Imagine waking up 30,000 years ago. There is no bedroom, no private house, no personal space in the modern sense. You open your eyes and immediately see other people, family members, children, elders, friends, people breathing beside you, people preparing food, people already talking. Throughout the day, you remain surrounded by familiar faces. When gathering food, you're with others. When hunting, you're with others. When traveling, you're with others. When resting, you're with others. When the sun goes down, everyone gathers around the same fire. For most of human history, solitude was not the default human condition. Togetherness was. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies have noticed that people spend astonishing amounts of time simply being in each other's presence, not necessarily talking, not necessarily working, just existing together. And that may be more important than we realize. Modern humans often think relationships are built through meaningful conversations. Ancient humans certainly had those, but they also had something else: constant proximity. A hunter sharpening a spear beside another hunter. Children playing near adults. Grandparents sitting near the fire. Mothers preparing food together. Nobody scheduled social interaction. It happened automatically. Connection wasn't an activity, it was the environment. Today, many people must actively arrange opportunities to be around other humans. They schedule dinners, plan meetings, send invitations, book calls. Ancient humans woke up inside their social network every single morning, and that changes something fundamental, because loneliness isn't simply the absence of people, it's often the absence of belonging. Consider one of the most remarkable discoveries in archaeology. Around the world, scientists have found skeletons belonging to individuals who survived severe injuries that would have been impossible to endure alone. Broken legs, crushed bones, debilitating disabilities. Some lived for years after suffering these injuries. One famous example comes from a site known as Shanidar Cave in modern-day Iraq. The remains belong to a Neanderthal man who suffered multiple serious injuries. One arm was likely useless, he had significant physical limitations, and yet he survived for years. How? Someone fed him, someone protected him, someone cared for him. Possibly many people. This discovery shattered an old stereotype. For a long time, scientists imagined prehistoric life as brutally individualistic. A constant struggle where only the strongest survived. The evidence tells a different story. Humans survived because they helped each other. Care may be one of humanity's oldest technologies, long before cities, long before agriculture, long before writing. There was compassion. And compassion creates belonging. But there was another reason ancient humans rarely experienced the kind of loneliness common today. Their identities were deeply connected to the group. Modern culture often celebrates individuality. We ask children what they want to become, what their personal goals are, what makes them unique. Ancient humans thought differently. Your identity wasn't separate from the tribe. It was inseparable from it. You weren't simply an individual. You were a daughter, a hunter, a storyteller, a mother, a brother, a member of the group. Every role connected you to other people. Every responsibility reminded you that you mattered. And humans need that feeling more than we often realize. Psychologists consistently find that purpose and belonging are closely linked. People want to feel needed. Ancient humans almost always were. If you failed to gather food, someone noticed. If you were absent from camp, someone noticed. If you were injured, someone was injured. If you succeeded, everyone benefited. Your existence had visible consequences. Today, many people can disappear socially without anyone realizing it. You can spend an entire day surrounded by strangers who don't know your name. You can move through crowds anonymously. You can work remotely, shop online, order food through an app, consume entertainment alone. Modern life offers unprecedented convenience. But convenience sometimes removes the small interactions that once reminded humans they belonged to a community. Then, there was storytelling. Storytelling may have been humanity's greatest defense against loneliness. Long before books existed, stories connected people across generations. Around ancient fires, humans shared experiences, myths, lessons, and memories. A story wasn't merely entertainment, it was social glue. When a group listened to the same story, they shared the same emotional experience. They laughed together, feared together, wondered together. Stories created a collective reality, and collective realities create communities. Researchers believe storytelling played a major role in helping large groups cooperate. People who shared myths and traditions often trusted one another more. The stories reminded them who they were, where they came from, and what they believed. Even today, humans bond through stories. Movies, books, sports, religions, nations all depend on shared narratives. But ancient humans experienced those narratives face to face, not through screens, not through algorithms, directly. Human voice to human ear. Night after night, generation after generation. And then there was something else, something modern humans rarely experience. Silence. Not loneliness, silence. These are not the same thing. Today, many people confuse the two. Ancient humans spent enormous amounts of time in quiet environments. No traffic, no notifications, no constant stream of information. Just wind, water, birds, fire, and other people nearby. Ironically, because they were so socially connected, solitude may have felt less threatening. Being alone for a short time didn't mean disconnection. The tribe was still there. The relationship remained secure. Modern loneliness often feels different, not because we're physically isolated, but because social bonds can feel uncertain. A person may have hundreds of online contacts and still wonder whether anyone truly knows them. Ancient humans rarely faced that question. Relationships weren't measured in messages. They were measured in shared survival. You knew who would help you because they already had, again and again. Through winters, through droughts, through migrations, through hardship, trust accumulated over years of direct experience. And trust is one of the strongest antidotes to loneliness ever discovered. Perhaps the most fascinating evidence comes from what anthropologists call social grooming. Among primates, grooming isn't primarily about hygiene. It's about connection. Chimpanzees spend huge portions of their day grooming one another. The activity strengthens social bonds. Humans evolved a different version. Conversation, laughter, storytelling, shared meals, music, dancing. These activities accomplish many of the same functions. They create emotional closeness, and ancient humans engaged in them constantly. Archaeologists have uncovered musical instruments more than 40,000 years old. Think about that. Even during the harsh conditions of prehistoric life, humans made music. Not because survival required it, because connection required it. A song can synchronize emotions. A rhythm can unite strangers. A dance can transform individuals into a community. Humans have always understood this instinctively, and perhaps that reveals something important. Maybe loneliness isn't solved by communication. Maybe it's solved by participation. Ancient humans didn't consume community. They created it. Every day. Together. Of course, this doesn't mean ancient life was perfect. People experienced grief, conflict, loss, exclusion. Humans have always been human. But the chronic loneliness reported across much of the modern world appears to be something different, something amplified by conditions our ancestors never encountered. For nearly all of history, your social world was small but deep. Today, it is often vast but shallow. You can know about thousands of people. Ancient humans might have known only a few dozen, yet those few dozen knew everything about them. Their strengths, their fears, their history, their family, their place in the group. And maybe that's the difference. The human brain didn't evolve to be recognized by millions. It evolved to belong to a tribe. When researchers ask people near the end of their lives what mattered most, the answers are surprisingly consistent. Rarely is it money. Rarely is it status. Almost always it comes back to relationships. The people they loved, the people who loved them, the moments they shared together. In other words, the same things that surrounded humans for hundreds of thousands of years. The things our species was built around from the very beginning. Tonight, after the sun goes down, you may sit alone in a room, illuminated by technology that would have seemed like magic to your ancestors. You may have access to more information than any human in history. More entertainment, more convenience, more comfort. And yet your brain still carries instincts forged beside ancient fires. Instincts shaped by small groups, familiar faces, shared stories, and daily cooperation. The world changed faster than those instincts did. Your ancestors weren't immune to sadness. They weren't immune to loss. But they lived inside networks of belonging so constant that loneliness rarely became a permanent condition. For 300,000 years, humans survived by staying connected. Not occasionally, not digitally, continuously. And perhaps the strangest thing about loneliness is that the feeling itself may be a message from a much older world. A world where nobody lived alone. A world where every face around the fire mattered. A world where belonging wasn't something you searched for. It was simply the air you breathed. And somewhere beneath the noise of modern life, your brain still remembers that world.